Hey everybody, this is IndieGeek, and today I'm taking a look at Cubesis. So this is a game that I believe it's released on Desura and Indie Game Stand. I will link in the description, as always, to where you can buy it, and I believe it is $5. I'm going to open up the credits here, and I feel awful about this. I'm probably going to mispronounce this, but the kind of head designer on this is Jindrich Pavlasek. I don't know. It's probably pronounced wrong, and I'm sorry for that. I'm extremely sorry if that's if I mispronounced. But that is who I got in contact with to talk about this game and talk about covering the game. So, if you haven't figured out, it is based on cubes, and we've got some really cute kind of plays on things here. We've got instead of an encyclopedia, we've got the Cubilopedia, and this actually will tell us all about what's going on. We've got the Q Bible instead of the Bible, and it's actually got this nice little story about the kind of the genesis of Cube World here, or the Cubesis, if you will, of Cube World, as well as our two gods of Cube World. And then we can go into the tutorial here, and you can see I have gone through the tutorials. It's pretty extensive, so and you have to go through the tutorial before playing campaign, which makes sense because as you saw, it is pretty extensive and there are a lot of rules. I'm going to attempt a campaign level here, and hopefully I won't just like instantly lose. But even if I do, I'm going to explain to you guys kind of what's going on here. So this is basically like a god game, right? So, you can think of something like Black and White, that kind of thing, right? And we kind of control everything about everyone. So, we get our little instruction set for the level here first. So, stubborn cubies refuse to build menhirs. It's about to get real hot in here. Cubies don't do well in extensive heat. They can only last for a little bit in hot places before they boil. The only option is to find a mountain range or move away from the equator. The crop, on the other hand, enjoys warmth, and so does the population. The main thing is keeping a cool head. Stubborn right, so then that just goes back to what it said at first. So the thing about this is we have objectives over here, right? So we need all 4 treasure chests, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 of them are going to be easy to get. The 2 in the ocean are not, and I will explain why in a minute. 200 gold, which won't be terribly difficult, and 100 grain, which also won't be terribly difficult. So, let me just explain kind of what's going on here to begin with, and explain kind of what we've got here. So we can build fields, which, as you can imagine, will give us more grain, right? And we need grain for our cubies here to eat. And we build a city to kind of reproduce more cubies. A church deals with IndieGeek over here, who handles the rise of the sea, right? Granaries hold more grain, so like right now we can only have 50 grain. If we had a granary, we could have 100 grain, so we will at least have to have 1 granary, and we'll probably want more than that. And then there are other things here that we can use. A plug will plug up holes, but that's not part of this campaign mission. So the way the campaign works is each mission we've got objectives, and like so for this one we can't use these 3 items. I can't tell exactly what this one is. I don't particularly remember what that one is, but we don't need it for this mission. And then this were the menhirs that they were talking about, and those control the temperature. So if we build one, it'll lower the temperature, and that all has to do with this god, Lycael. So we've got 2 gods basically that we're dealing with, and trying to balance that situation between the gods. So one of the first things I'm going to do here is go right here and build a city. And basically the way we get anything done is by actually sacrificing a cubie. So, like, for example, I may build a granary there. And then our city is going to change anytime that we can have a new cubie. So we can see the little, like, basically the color of the city changes. And right now I'm just getting some fields together. So it turns red, right, when we've got a cubie that we can use. And so what I want to do right now is kind of head towards getting some of these treasure chests so that we can at least start working our way. And if you haven't figured out, the way we're going to get the other treasure chests is through building churches so that eventually the tide is low enough that we are able to get them. So, the other thing is, so here's how the leveling works. I can level down, and that gave me more stone, because I leveled over stone. So, that's kind of how that system works. I may want to build a church here. So, I'll go build a church. And you see, we are against the flood, which is true. So, you know, we're basically watching the scales here to decide what's going on. So the situation in this one is that it's getting warmer and warmer, and at the same time we are trying to make sure that it's not flooded. We actually want lower tides, basically, so that we can walk over to where we need to be in order to get the treasure chest, right? So I'm just going to continue building churches here. And our crops will eventually die. That's why those ones are green. Good crops are yellow. So that was bad because all of our crops dried up at once. So we're going to hope here that we can get some more crops. And basically, the way you know that an effect is about to happen is the scales will tip one way or the other. When they fully tip, that's when we know that a change has happened. So we kind of saw that there. And they are now tipping even more. And so what we're doing here is we're basically trying to strategize what things we're going to build. Because, like, say for example, at the very beginning I could have just immediately turned both of my guys into churches, but then I wouldn't have a city and it would be game over. And that's one of the things about it, is it all comes down to strategy. So unlike other God games where you are basically allowed to just do whatever you want, and there isn't necessarily a win or lose condition, there actually is a win and lose condition here. And that is all tied to, of course, you know, meeting these objectives and what exactly we have to do to meet the objectives. Alright, so another church should do it, but of course I need more stone. So, you know, it really comes down to just strategically using your cubies. So, you know, that's kind of an outline of the game. I know I just talked for like 10 minutes straight about what's going on with the game here, but as you can see, it is a little complicated, you know, and that's not a bad thing at all. There's just a lot of rules to kind of understand, a lot of balancing factors that you have to take into account. And, okay, so we got our grain objective completed, that's good. So now we can kind of stop worrying about grain so much. I mean, we still need to make sure that we've got crops in place. Okay. So, now hopefully we will be able to pretty soon cross across those rivers. And what I'm probably going to do is only play one round of this, basically. Because as you can imagine, some of these do get a little time consuming. And that's, you know, that's not a bad thing. Okay. So, actually, probably what I want to do here is get some more stone and potentially just build another church even, just to speed up this process a little more. ideally. Okay, so you know that's kind of the game design, and personally I really like the game as far as you know, kind of the objectives of what we're trying to do here. I think it's a really neat idea. I think it's definitely different from other games that I've seen do things like this. You know, this is not just like the typical God game. And you can see here that we've got quite the kind of lowering of the tides going on here. I want to get some more stone just in case we need another church. But, you know, I think that kind of explains basically what is going on with the game itself. So now, you know, I'm going to talk about kind of the art and music, as I always do. Yeah, holy cow, so it looks like we need even more churches. So this, as you can imagine, this starts to get a little difficult just to make sure that you've got everything balanced alright. So what I'm going to want to do here is actually make this guy into a field. And, you know, hopefully I've explained well enough. You know, so this is our population, our wheat, our stone, our gold, and the temperature. I'm not super familiar with Celsius temperatures, unfortunately, but I'm assuming it's hot. I do live in North America, so, well, and more specifically, I live in the US, so I am familiar with Fahrenheit, and that's about it, and that's fine. But, okay, so yeah, I mean, that's the game. I like it a lot. I think it's cool. On to kind of the other aspects of what's going on here. The art, personally, I really like it. I don't know if there's a way to zoom in, and if I was gonna have one complaint, that might be it, is if there's a way to zoom in, I'm not sure what it is. And it definitely feels like zooming in would be something that I would want to do. But I mean, that's fine, because it is a small scale at least, so it's not actually that big of a deal that we can't zoom in. So what I want to do here is build another field, and hopefully this is like, oh, perfect. Okay, so now we want to move our cubies and hopefully get them where they need to go in enough moves before they roast up. And then after that, we just need to collect gold. Easy enough. But you know, I do like kind of this mission objective-based style to this kind of game. Because kind of a problem that I've had with other God games is that... Okay, what I may want to do actually is get some stone here, because I don't think at least the other guy is definitely not going to be able to reach his place in time. So I'm hoping that before he dies up, I will be able to turn him into a city. This guy will be fine. He had enough turns to do it, so that's fine. Okay, good. So I'm gonna get this guy right over here, turn him into a city. Perfect. Because then I can get this guy, and now we should be able to make it just fine. So this will get me to the last treasure chest I need. Of course, it is still getting hotter. And then all we have to do at that point is wait it out for another 96 gold. So we can right-click through our turns here, and we did it. So, why does it say? Oh, because I never went and got that one in the north. That was silly. Alright, well, this should not really be a big deal. Should be able to get there pretty easily. But yes, I think the art is nice. Like I said, I don't know that there's a way to zoom in, but even with that being a factor, I think it looks really nice. Oh, am I... Okay, cool, I made it. So, that is that. I mean, that is a completed objective for Cubesis, and I think this is probably where I'm going to wrap it up, but I am going to talk a little bit more about the game in general. So, you know, like I said, like I was saying there, the art looks really nice. I think probably my favorite thing about it is that it's just on such a small scale, and I find that it's much easier to really get into the game because it's on that small scale. Because I don't have, you know, a million elements to keep track of. I can just really focus in on a few key things. And that makes it a lot easier to kind of plan things out and really think about what I'm doing. And then the music is really nice. You know, it's not, you know, none of it really stands out, and I think that's a good thing, because this is supposed to be a game that you can kind of lose a lot of time in, as, you know, games like this typically are. And I think the music is just a nice, calming kind of background to the gameplay, so I think that works really well. You know, huge props to both the graphics artists as well as the musicians. Sorry, I don't know the names specifically, but, you know, if you buy the game, you can go look at the credits and check out that a little bit more in depth. But, you know, on top of all that, I think the game design just works really well. I've really been getting into games lately that work on this kind of small scale, and I think it's a neat idea, and I think it just works for me personally in the way that I like to play games, especially if it's a strategy game. If it's a strategy game that can work on a small scale, and I said this last week about a game called Infested Planet, which was basically like an RTS, but on a smaller scale. Well, this is kind of like a God game on a smaller scale, and I am like so into that. Like, it's hard to explain, but I'm really, really enjoying this game. And I think especially if you are into God games, or you have always been interested in God games, but maybe want a little more direction, this is a very, very good game for you, because it provides the God game experience, but gives you kind of goals and missions. And personally, I appreciate that a lot, and I think that is something that really makes this one worth it. So, you know, as I said, I will link, of course, in the description to where you can pick the game up. I highly recommend it. I think it's a really good game. I think it's interesting, and you know, I'm gonna end up playing it a lot, I think. So, as always, feel free to comment if there's anything that you would like to comment on. Subscribe to the channel to see more of my videos every single day, and if you liked my video on Cubesis, then please consider clicking the like button, because that can help me out a lot. I appreciate everything that you do to help. So with all of that being said, I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.